Hey, Allie.
Hi. Oh my gosh, I'm the first person here.
I know. Everybody must be having a slow day. Were you able to connect with Ryan?
I did, but he said he doesn't do the areas that my friend is looking in.
Okay.
And he could make another recommendation for me, but I'm just waiting on that. So that's where it stands right now.
Well, hopefully we hear from him or he gets back to you soon.
Yeah, I mean, it's a friend of mine, but she's like so ready. She's pre-approved. We made a collections board just so she could start seeing what's out there. She was adding like a million things yesterday, so she's like ripe for the taking.
Okay, well, if he doesn't let me know, if he doesn't get back to you in a couple of days, and I'll send out word and see if we can get you somebody else.
Yeah, that'd be great.
Awesome.
Okay.
Good morning, Christiana.
Hey, how are you?
I feel like we're gonna have a small but mighty group today.
All right, sounds fun. Allie, where are you located?
Sorry, had to unmute. I'm in Long Island.
Oh, okay.
I was just in Brooklyn though. That's where I work. So it's really nice here today. It's like
Is it?
spring. Yeah, it's spring-like and there's birds chirping outside.
Magical. It sounds awesome.
I know.
I'm
So
sure you're ready for that to be reality.
yeah, I was like getting hot in my coat today and I was sweating and regretting my wardrobe choices. So I'm excited to not have to wear a coat.
I bet. Yeah, I live in Miami, but I grew up in Ohio and I forget that it's winter in other places now.
Yes.
I was talking to Chirag the other day and I'm like, just go out for a walk. And he's like, do you know it's 20 degrees right now? Like, I can't do that. So,
Oh, wow. I forget that it's that warm there actually. So I guess it's a two-way street.
yeah, I mean, same thing. It's like just sometimes it's a little too warm. I'm like, it's only February. Does it have to be 85 degrees where I'm like sweating when I walk outside? I'm like, can we have a little bit of winter? Like, but can't complain. The sky is blue, so I moved here for the sun, so I can't complain about it.
I feel like I hear so many people moving to Florida right now, like old clients, like, oh, where are you in Florida? Like maybe if I know someone's moving there, I can throw them your way.
Totally. I'm in Miami. My husband is, I'm actually not a realtor, but Ben is, so I could definitely, he's getting to actually a lot of clients coming from New York. It feels like the whole city of New York City feels like they're all moving here.
Yeah, it does feel like that. Honestly, every other person, I'm like, you're moving to Miami? Like every single client, like my friends' clients are moving there. So
well, we share an office right now, so he may, or always do, but he may enter, so I'll tell him to say hello so you can know if you do have someone. We always have this battle of whoever's on the phone first gets the office, and so I won today.
Well, we're a small group, but I think we're a good group, and I will be posting this for anybody who can't join live, but I think we should get started.
Okay. Sounds good. So I was thinking, I guess I recognize some names, but not everyone. So I'll just introduce myself briefly. So while I am not a realtor, I am married to a realtor and I share an office with a realtor, as I was just saying. So I feel like I'm a realtor a lot of days because I hear about deals and falling apart and appraisals and inspections, and we talk about strategy sometimes. And so I actually do mindfulness work. So I work with organizations and individuals on how to be more present, how to be more fulfilled in their lives, and how to pay attention to what's most important in your life. So for most realtors, Right now, the market is pretty hot. It can be really stressful, whether it's hot or cold, wherever you are. Your business is a 24/7 business. It's constantly something. And, as I've seen from my roommate over here, a lot of times deals fall apart due to no fault of your own. Something happens where the inspector made an error or some lawyer made an issue. And so having a mindfulness practice can be very beneficial in allowing you to have tools on how to manage that stress when things go maybe the way that you wouldn't have chosen for them to go, but that's how they have gone. And so what Rachel and I had talked about today is talking about how to incorporate mindfulness into work relationships, into, if you have a team, other colleagues, how to get them involved in the practice. And so what I was thinking is we could start with a practice just to kind of get us all on the same page, kind of get you all in the flow, in the mindful mood, we can call it. And then I have some tips I can share and we can just have a conversation. So does that sound good to those of you that I can see? I know some of you are on and hopefully just listening. All right, thumbs up. So what we're going to do is I know, Michael, you were on last time. So some of you have practiced with me before, but if you haven't practiced before and this is new to you, just follow along with my guidance. If you feel at any point like you need to open your eyes or kind of, shift in your seat, that's fine. You can feel free to do that. So it looks like a couple of new people are joining, which is great. So what we're going to do is just do a brief practice. So what you want to do first is just find a comfortable position. Looks like everyone is sitting. If you are driving listening to this, I highly recommend do not do this practice right now because we will be closing our eyes. And that's not a wise thing to do, even if you have a Tesla. The self-driving is useful, but I do not recommend it. So finding a comfortable seat, and what that looks like is putting your feet firmly on the ground. So if it's possible for you to adjust your chair so that you can do that, getting your feet on the ground, legs uncrossed. Again, if this is possible for you, if you're wearing an outfit where that's not, something you can do, don't worry about it. But feet on the floor, legs uncrossed, gently resting your hands in your lap. I usually do it palms facing up like this. I just have my hands sitting in my lap like that, but you can have them facing down or any way that feels comfortable. You want to have a straight spine. Again, you hear me say the word comfortable again. We want to be feeling relaxed and not in pain. So the intention is not to have a painful meditation experience. We're trying to reduce stress here. And then when you're ready, you can gently close your eyes. If you don't feel comfortable closing your eyes and being on camera, feel free to turn off your camera, which I noticed a couple of you have done. That's totally cool. Or you can leave it on as well. So gently closing your eyes and just beginning to become aware of the fact that you are breathing. And so for the purpose of our practice today, breathing will look like breathing in and out through the nose, if that's possible. Now, if you have any kind of breathing difficulty, maybe a congested nose, and that's not possible for you, feel free to breathe through the mouth. But if it is possible, breathing in and out through the nose. And just noticing how you're feeling right now. Maybe you've had a stressful morning, maybe a lot going on. Maybe you're thinking about what you have to do after this session. Just becoming aware of what's here for you. And noticing that your body knows the exact amount of air that it needs without you having to change anything or direct anything. No emails needed, no compass concierge, just breathing. Breathing in and breathing out at whatever pace your body finds to be correct. and seeing if you can find where you feel the breath the strongest in your body. So maybe that's the tip of your nose, the nostrils where the air enters. Maybe that's the expansion and contraction of your chest. Or maybe that's the rise and fall of your belly on the in-breath and on the out-breath. And if you're having trouble connecting with one of these areas, you can just take your hands and place them on your heart area or on your stomach and just feel that way. And you may have noticed by now that your mind has wandered either to a thought or a to-do list item or a story. And if that's the case for you, just simply labeling that thinking and coming back to your body and the sensations of breathing. So sensations of breath in the nose, in the chest, or in the stomach area. And you may notice that your mind continues to wander. And knowing that this is not an opportunity to judge yourself or feel that you're bad at meditation, just acknowledging that the nature of the mind is to wander and that you're simply exercising the muscle of awareness, of attention. So anytime you notice the mind has wandered, you redirect it back to your breath. And your mind could wander to anything. It may have wandered to a sound in the background. It may wander to a sensation in the body, or it may wander just to thoughts. So whenever you notice that the mind has wandered, you can simply say, "Not now," and come back to sensations of breathing. In and out, rising and falling. And so when you're ready, thinking of something that you feel thankful for today, and coming up with something small, maybe something as simple as, I'm grateful for buttons on my shirt. I'm grateful for someone that said hello to me. Grateful for a warm day. Whatever it is, just trying to find something that is meaningful and that you're grateful for today. And just connecting with how you feel when you come up with that object of gratitude. So maybe noticing a slight smile on your face, maybe noticing a feeling of warmth or expansion in your chest, or maybe noticing that your mind has now created a story around this object. And when you notice this, just redirecting back to your body and those sensations of breathing. And letting go. Allowing yourself to become present in this moment. So your body is sitting here, listening to me, and bringing your mind here now. And so as we begin to complete our practice today, knowing that you can come back to your body and sensations of breathing at any moment that you choose. And as you take a few final breaths of this practice, I'd like to read a poem to you that is called Beyond the Bend in the Road. And it's by Fernando Pessoa. Beyond the bend in the road, there may be a well, and there may be a castle, and there may be just more road. I don't know and don't ask. As long as I'm on the road that's before the bend, I look only at the road before the bend. Because the road before the bend is all I can see. It would do me no good to look anywhere else or at what I can't see. Let's pay attention only to where we are. There's enough beauty in being here and not somewhere else. If there are people beyond the bend in the road, let them worry about what's beyond the bend in the road. That for them is the road. If we're to arrive there, when we arrive there, we'll know. For now, we know only that we're not there. Here, there's just the road before the bend, and before the bend, there's the road without any bend. And so as you reflect on those words and take a few final breaths of this practice, and when you're ready, gently opening your eyes. And before you return fully to the session, just taking an extra moment and looking around the space that you're in, noticing any colors or textures, maybe something you hadn't noticed before, and noticing your mind. Perhaps your mind has changed in the last few moments. And so when you're ready, since we're a small group, I don't know, Rachel, if they have the ability, I think everyone does have the ability to unmute.
Yeah.
If anyone would like to share what you noticed about that practice, maybe what you found you were grateful for, you can unmute and share that. Don't make me call on you.
I guess I'll talk. So one of the things I definitely felt a sense of kind of like relaxation, especially just for me personally, the last like week or so has been so hectic and crazy that just this like 5 minutes, or even if it was that long, of just resting the eyes and just like focusing on breathing definitely helped just settle me, even by like the littlest amount, which definitely helped kind of put things into perspective in terms of work, which is really good. And then I guess just I'm grateful that I'm even able to have this amount of time to take out of my day to do something like this, when I know other people are running around and crazy and feel like that is so important to just be constantly on the move, when they don't realize that they have to take care of their own personal health as well in order to, have continued success.
Right. Yeah. Well, congratulations to you and everyone for joining, because I know it's tough in your line of work to find the time to take time for yourself. And, if I'm sure most of you have been on an airplane, that when they always tell you put your oxygen mask on first before assisting other customers. And it really is true with self-care. And I may have said that on the last call that we had, but I shared it with another group I was working with, and someone raised their hand and they're like, I could never do that. I'm so focused on taking care of other people. Like, I don't have time to put my mask on first. And my response to them was, well, I hope I'm not sitting next to you, because you're not going to be able to help me if something happens, And I think we often forget that by taking care of ourselves, we're actually caring for others by our effort in doing that for us, because it makes us better colleagues, it makes us better realtors, it makes us better parents if you have kids, better children if you have parents, all of these things. It makes you a better person to take that time for yourself, whether that's through meditation or just sitting with a cup of coffee and really enjoying it. Like, taking just a few minutes can be really valuable. So thank you, Michael, for sharing that. Does anyone else have an experience they'd like to share, what they're grateful for? And you can do it in chat too if you don't want to come on video.
I can share. So my mind right now definitely feels like clearer, calmer, more settled. I didn't realize how not calm and not settled it was until we were finished and you said, do you feel a difference? The poem at the end was something I actually really needed to hear today.
Beautiful.
I realized something I've been struggling with before even listening to the poem is just always worrying about building my career, where it's going, what's it going to look like when I get there, and forgetting about what things look like now. And yes, the things I should be grateful for now, and giving myself credit for me as I am instead of what I think like I could be. So that was really helpful for me.
Wow, that's very powerful. Thank you. And I think we all do that too. What am I doing right now? Where am I going to be in 5 years? What's happening? And so that's why I love that poem, especially in this sort of pandemic time, because we don't know what's around the bend and we can't control that, unfortunately. And there's a great quote, and I always forget who says it, but it says, some of the worst things in my life never actually happened. And I think it speaks so much to how we create these stories in this future that may never happen. And I think all of us do that. Yes, let me put in the chat really quick the name of the poem. It's called Beyond the Bend in the Road. And the author is Fernando Pessoa. And you can just Google him and it'll come up. So I put that in the chat also. So does anyone else have anything you'd like to share, or we can go into kind of how do we incorporate mindfulness into, a group setting? And I'll give you guys a second if anyone else wants to hop in. All right. So this is meant to be a conversation. So I don't know all of you personally, so I don't know your kind of dynamic of what group you're working in, but this can apply to not only a work group, but this can apply to your family. So I do a lot of these practices that I'll talk about with my family as well. And those people that I do coach one-on-one, we work on incorporating that with theirs. So I'm just going to pull up, I'm trying to open this really quickly. So what you can do is, if you have a meeting, and all of you, regardless of your role within a team environment, could do something like this. You can do basically a short version of what we did earlier at the beginning of your meeting. And if you feel comfortable guiding people through something, you could do that. Or I know most people don't. You can find a 1-minute recording of someone sort of speaking. And the third idea that I recommend, which most people end up doing, is kind of, hey, everyone that's in this meeting, let's close our eyes and take 5 deep breaths before we start. And what that does is it allows everyone in that meeting or in that group to kind of reset, much like, Michael and Ali, you both shared, not realizing how we're feeling is so common because we're constantly running throughout the day. We're disconnected from our bodies because we're all in the mind. We're thinking, we're running, we're doing, we're acting, and we become almost disconnected from ourselves. And so what that little micro practice, if you do it at the beginning of a meeting, allows everyone to sort of settle, release some of that sort of tension, and approach the meeting in a focused way. So that can be really helpful. Or what you can also do is at the end of a meeting, I saw the former, what is he? He's the founder of Whole Foods, John Mackey. You may have heard his name before, speak at a conference a couple years ago. And he said anytime they had a meeting, at the end of the meeting, they did what they called appreciation. And so everyone that was in the meeting, in his case, they would turn to the person to the right and they would go in a circle. So I would turn to whoever's sitting here, and to the group say, I appreciate John because blah, 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 blah. And then John would turn to the person to the right of him and say, I appreciate so-and-so for this and that. And I've done that in many of the groups that I've worked with. And it's just really a nice way for people to feel appreciated by someone in their group. And it could be something small. I appreciate that you smile at me when I, see you every time. Or I appreciate that you were here early today. I appreciate, your ideas on this. It doesn't have to be this huge, elaborate thing. It can be something really small, but that small thing could be something that changes their day and also allows you to, express your gratitude for someone. So that's how he did it. I've done it that way several times. I know in some groups it might feel like you're putting people on the spot and maybe they don't feel comfortable with that. So you could do it in a variety of ways. You could either do it where people just kind of hop around and, as someone feels inspired, they share something. I've found with that approach that it tends to be, I like the first way better because everyone gets something said about them, and also everyone gets to share something. So it's a little bit of that sort of, participation trophy, if you want to call it that. Everyone wins. So I like that in this case, whereas maybe with youth sports, it's not as beneficial, as I'm sure many of us have been reading. The other thing you could do is, and I think I shared this on our last call, which is what inspired this topic, is a gratitude jar or a gratitude box. If you are all gathering together, or you could do it electronically as well. So what my husband, Ben, and I, who I can sort of hear outside, he might be coming in a few minutes, do is we have a jar in our kitchen with some paper near it, and we write what we're grateful for whenever the mood strikes. There's no rules around it. It's totally whenever you feel inspired, you write something that you're grateful for and you put it in the jar and you put a date on it. And then what we do is we save all of those until our anniversary. And then we take it out and we each read what the other one, he reads to me what he wrote, and then I read to him what I wrote. And that has been a really nice practice for us to kind of celebrate our anniversary in a unique way. We are not huge gift givers. So for us, that's our gift. So you can take that, but you can also do that with your team. So any group that you're in, you could do something similar to that. And again, a nice thing, like we did it at another group I was working with, we did it for Valentine's Day. Actually, each person in the group got 3 pieces of paper, and on each paper had a name. And then you wrote something that you were grateful for about each person. And then their Valentine was receiving those, statements that their colleagues had written about them. So, I think we just forget how valuable it is to give people positive words. So does anyone have any thoughts or questions about that? Has anyone done anything similar?
I haven't done anything similar to that, but I absolutely love that idea. I personally, me and my girlfriend aren't for anniversaries, we tend not to do big gifts because, for us, we have our birthday and then Christmas and everything. So it's oh, why do we need, more gifts the next month after and everything. So I love that idea. I actually literally just texted her that. I was I actually, what just was going on in my video? But I think that that's such a good idea because I feel especially now these days, that kind of gets gratitude and all that stuff kind of gets thrown to the curb, I feel a little bit, and isn't as recognized as often as we should, as people in general, but especially, we're all kind of quarantining and been around each other for so long, I feel like that aspect of things can kind of get thrown to the side,
Right.
not intentionally, but definitely can. And obviously it's good to keep that in mind and kind of give those reminders to your significant others or teammates or whatever it is.
I love that. You'll have to let me know how it goes.
I will.
Because I think the cool thing is the way we do it, at least, like, our anniversary is in July. And so we'll be reading things from the prior August. Like, oh my gosh, I forgot about that walk we went on together. So cool that you perceived it in this way. And I, maybe I did or didn't write about that specific walk, but sometimes we'll write about the same like event in totally different ways. Or, we have kids now too. So like reading, before we had kids. And then what we've been trying to do is put them all into a book so then we can kind of flip through them. And it's a really beautiful practice. So I hope if you do take it on, you'll have to tell me
I definitely
what you decide to do. Cool.
And I love the idea that you mentioned too, the Valentines that people did on their team where everybody got 3 names. I'm often the community facilitator in whatever team or company I work for. And we've done a lot of things where it's like a monthly toast, everybody send in somebody you're grateful for. And I love that stuff. But what I like more almost about what you said is like everybody gets a little love, like, because there's people are doing things all the time that are maybe not like the big company wide recognized things. But if I, a colleague helping me fix the printer or smiling or doing like little tiny things that I wouldn't think to recognize, it makes you see, it makes you feel more gratitude for all the little moments, not just the big wins.
Right. And then you start looking for them too, because you're like, oh my gosh, now I can write this. And, he's going to love when I read this. Or, in that case, like for weeks, people had their little Valentine hearts, on their desks and things like that and read them. And, I think especially now that we're all separated, another thing is like sending real mail. Like people love getting little cards. I was on someone invited me to speak to their group last week and she wrote me a personal thank you note, which I totally wasn't expecting. And I'm like, this is so nice to like feel that you wrote me something thanking me, for speaking to your group of friends. And, and sending letters to people and, the excitement of receiving that. So, there's a lot of different ways that you can incorporate that sort of written gratitude that can be helpful. So I wanted to share another practice that I've been doing recently. It's it's not for a huge group. It's better for one-on-one. But there's a tribe in Africa called the Zulu tribe. You may have heard of them, but they have a practice called Sawubona. I see, Michael, you nodding. Do you know it?
I've just heard of the tribe before and I've never heard anyone mention it.
You never know what you get on a mindfulness call. So this tribe, what they do, how we culturally say hello, how are you when we see someone, even if it's on Zoom. So what they do is a little bit different. And it's called Sawubona, but in English, it translates as, if I was meeting with each one of you, I would say, I see you, Allie. I see you, Michael. I see you, Rachel. I don't see Donald, Deanna. I don't see you, but I see you. And then the other person would respond, I am here. And then we would flip it. So whoever, I'm with would then say, I see you, Christiana. And I would say, I am here. And it sounds probably a little bit funny in explanation. You can look it up. I can also put that name in the chat. Marian, yes, they are great warriors. And so it's really interesting though, because, in this age of feeling a lot of loneliness and disconnection from people, by saying, I see you, it means that like, I'm acknowledging you. I recognize that you are here and you are a person. And they're saying it back, like, I'm here, I see you, and you say, I am here. And so I've done that for a lot of my coaching calls recently. We've been doing it at the beginning to kind of acknowledge that we're both here, we're both present. And it's been really powerful. And I've also been doing it with my kids. And I don't do it as much with my husband, interestingly, as now that we're talking about it. But with kids, they love that too, because we all remember growing up as a child where you felt like maybe you were misunderstood or your parents didn't see you, or, you were always, I don't know, just feeling like you're sort of navigating your way in this world. And I think most of us still are feeling that way. And so it's just a way that we can acknowledge each other that may be helpful for you all as you continue on. So I can put that name in the chat. Also, there's some great articles about the greeting. Why isn't it typing? So I'll put that in there for you if you want to look that up. And, just a few other ideas I wanted to put out, and then we can have some discussion on if you all, have others you want to go. Thank you, Donald. Nice having you on here. Have a great day. But, if you have a physical space, you can dedicate an area to meditation practice. I think most of you being realtors probably, there may be an office, like a Compass office that you go to, if they're open to having a space there that can be helpful, or even just having it in your home, which isn't really for your team, but something that can be helpful for everyone. We have a designated meditation, area, and literally it's a tiny little folded yoga mat with a cushion on it. But anyone in the family can go. My little she just turned 3. She actually goes to the meditation area when she's feeling strong emotions and she tells us how she's feeling. So, just wanted to put that in there. And then, also if you have a group, you can do a meditation challenge. So even if it's a small group or team, even if it's with your girlfriend or your wife or your significant other, a family member, what Ben and I did to first kind of get into the practice of meditating was literally a kindergarten star chart of, we challenged each other to do 30 days in a row of 10 minutes of practice. And I got us stars and we put it on the refrigerator, and every day that we did it, we got a star. And that's what really held us accountable and kept us, doing the practice for 30 days, and then it extended from there. So I always recommend that if you are trying to, build a practice into your life, but you're struggling with how, it can be really helpful to have accountability. So you can do that with just one other person. You could do that with your team as a whole, whoever wants to participate. You can do that virtually, whatever way works best for you or group. So those are just a couple of ideas that I had. I don't know if there are any questions or anything that you all think you might implement and you want to share.
I have a question. We've been doing a lot of sessions with our leadership coach, David, on getting feedback from clients or getting feedback from colleagues. And I'm wondering if you have any tips. And I know we have a feedback session about it's called Getting Feedback Without Arguing, that David's doing tomorrow. So I'm wondering if you have any tips for us about kind of a meditation, breathing, mindfulness technique, whatever it may be, about how we act when we get feedback, because I know a lot of us, that's a time where we do not practice mindfulness.
So you mean feedback, like typically negative feedback, like I don't...
Like any feedback, like I didn't like the house you showed me, or what are some feedback that you guys get as realtors that's maybe not even negative, but maybe stress inducing, or nope, that wasn't the right house. Can we try again? Anything that's like,
yeah, I want to cancel this deal. Or
yeah, like, oh no, like I call it like the shoulder to the ear feedback, like,
Yeah. So, I mean, in that case, that's an uncontrollable situation, and that's the person's perspective and the decision that they've made. So that's the challenge of most careers, but especially real estate, is it's out of your control. If you had your choice, everyone would be happy. They'd love the first house you go into. There would be no issues, 0-day inspection period, it'd close tomorrow. So there's a lot of points where you get feedback that is not really what you want. So I think any breathing technique would be beneficial. But I think the first thing is, that's actually probably the easiest, but also the most difficult to remember, is just noticing how you are breathing. Usually when we get news that we don't like, we're immediately like tense up. For me, I feel heat rising in my chest and like I'm about to explode on someone, but noticing that and noticing that tension or that sort of rapid breath that we get when we might be feeling angry or overwhelmed or stressed, and saying, I'm feeling this emotion. I'm noticing my breath has changed. I might even be like tense. Sometimes people even like clench their fists when they're feeling they don't like this, or you're rubbing your hands together. Whatever the case is for you, it all starts with that sort of awareness of how you individually respond. And then, I always recommend taking a couple of deep breaths. If you can, close your eyes and just sort of, allow yourself to calm down. And, some people find a mantra is really helpful. Like one of my clients right now is using, I am focused and connected. And so when he feels that sort of stress or rise, he'll say that to himself, or I am here, like I am here and present, because that, you can't always control everything in your life. So, I mean, I can send, if anyone's interested, there are a lot of breathing practices out there. You could look up, I would recommend maybe looking up one called box breathing, which essentially is you breathe in the shape of a box. So you would breathe in for a count of 4, hold your breath for 4, breathe out for 4, and then hold for 4. And you can do any number you want. If for you can only do 2, that's fine. If you can only, if you can go to 10, great. But 4 is kind of where I would target. And then the other one is 5, 7, 8, 4, 7, 8 breath. So you would breathe in for 4, hold for 7, and breathe out for 8. And that can just help you soothe your mind and kind of calm that sort of urge to, respond quickly in a way that maybe if you'd had time to think, you wouldn't have done. And if you Google those, you can find those very easily. Great question. Any other questions? Did that help?
Yes, that was great. I think anybody has any follow-up questions to that or any other questions? No one? No questions? Okay. Everybody's feeling so mindful.
Everyone's so relaxed.
I know.
I mean, I can recommend while everyone's here, if you want, like as far as practicing on your own, because mindfulness is really, I consider there kind of being 2 components. Meditation is one of the tools of mindfulness. So mindfulness is basically how you live your life. Do you live your life connected to people? Do you live your life present? Or are you living your life, fearing for the future or regretting something that happened in the past? And so what mindfulness is about being fully present in that moment, whether that moment includes things that maybe you don't like or you do like. It's about accepting what's here for you right now. And so meditation is one way that you can help yourself become more mindful. So it's almost like going to the gym and doing bicep curls, and then an Amazon box arrives and you actually have to lift it up. The bicep curls would be kind of like the meditation, like the practice that prepares you for the actual life, which is mindfulness. And so that can just be a helpful differentiator between those 2. Yeah. Yeah. It's just very helpful to understand, that meditation is not the only tool, but there are a lot of types of meditation. So there's mindful meditation, which is kind of what we did today, where we focused primarily on the breath, connecting with the body. There are other practices that, you may find you resonate with, like a meditation that has a mantra. Like if you've ever done yoga class and you're sort of chanting Om, that's a mantra meditation in most cases. There's transcendental meditation. There's a lot of different forms of meditation. So you can find what works for you, but then the mindful living would be that sort of presence, that I am here right now feeling, instead of I'm lost in the future or the past. So just to clarify that, if anyone had any questions.
That's awesome.
So I can keep talking all day if you guys want.
Well, does anybody else have any questions? If not, we're 10:40, or it's not 10, I'm on the East Coast. Yeah, West Coast. So I'm like 1:45. So we'll give you 15 minutes back. And unless anybody has any final thoughts, this was so helpful. Thank you so much, Christiana. I feel like, not only just relaxed and centered, but I feel like these are really good tips for everybody's been so busy. Everybody's been so stressed. And I know I'm saying a blanket statement, but from all of you that I've talked to, the market's crazy and you're all working so hard that it's so nice to have this ability to, like, you have the tools within to kind of center yourself for the work ahead.
Right.
I love
Yeah.
hearing
And just taking that time, like you said, using the next 15, 10 minutes, however long, to maybe write someone something you're grateful for, using this time, since you already blocked it, to do something mindful.
Perfect.
That's your assignment.
I love it. I love a homework assignment.
I do have a quick question that I thought of. Is there like an app or something that you would recommend for someone getting started with meditation? Because I do not do it. I have tried several times and I never seem to stick with it. So recommendations.
Totally. Yeah. Great question. Yes, great question. So I have a couple of recommendations. So if you want, I have some free meditations that I can either send you a link to, or they're on an app called Insight Timer. I can put that in the chat, or Rachel, if you know it. So it's Insight Timer. It is free. They do have like an upcharge for something. I have never gotten the upgrade. So you can do that free version. You can search for my name. I have a couple of 10-minute practices and some longer 30, 40-minute ones. So I'd recommend starting with the shorter one. And then on that app, which is great, is you can look for meditations depending on what you're doing. So I'm trying to sleep, meditation for sleep, meditation for anxiety, meditation for fear, whatever it is. They have, the ability to search by topic and then also by teacher. So if you prefer a male or female teacher, depending on different voices, we all have different preferences for what we find relaxing. So that's a great app for that. And then also it has, the ability to track. If you're on the competitive side, a competitive meditator, I like to say, it tells you, how many days in a row you've meditated, how many minutes per day, and you can see all these graphs and all this stuff. So if you're into that, that can be really helpful. So that's a great one I like. There's another app called Calm, which is similar. It has a much more basic free version. I think last I checked, it was only free for a period of time and then you have to pay. But I have several clients that really like that. I also, if you're into Peloton, they have meditations on their app that I know people really enjoy. That app does have a charge, but if you're already on the app, adding that in. And then finally, there's an app, Headspace, which is, it's a British man, Andy Puddicombe, who he does a wonderful job of having meditations, but then also sort of explaining what he's talking about in these little cartoons, which are fun to watch. There is a fee for that. I don't know the actual fee right now because they do change it often, but my parents love Headspace. A lot of my clients that basically want something to be pushed to them every day, like, hey, it's day one, do this. That's a great option for you if you're fine with paying for something. So those are a couple ideas. You can also look on YouTube just for meditation. The quality ranges. The app Insight Timer, for example, you can see how other people have rated it, which I find is helpful because sometimes, the quality just isn't great. Yeah. And Grace shared the Chopra meditations. So not sure if this is what you're talking about specifically, but Deepak Chopra often does little challenges with Oprah, and they will send you for a certain period of time. I think it's 30 days. They'll send you a meditation every day on a certain theme. And those are free too. So I highly recommend those. I don't know, Grace, if you're able to kind of share your experience with that and how you've used it.
Hi.
Oh, I think you muted.
You're muted. I think it's Marlena, right?
Oh, I don't know. It says Grace in the chat.
Yeah, I think that's her daughter's computer. Marlena, is it you? She's muted. She was having some technical difficulties earlier.
Okay, well, that's all right. Well, I guess while she figures it out, does anyone else have any apps that you all have used that you like?
Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you.
I'm sorry, I just went into this whole thing. So I started with the free Chopra, the 21-day challenges, which I really liked. And then I just bought a few, like abundance and getting yourself unstuck and so on. And I do them over and over. And I find that they're really helpful. And sometimes I start the morning with them. That's my preference. And sometimes if I'm really, really ambitious, I'll do it at night as well as I'm going to sleep. And it helps me out a lot. So yeah.
That's great. Thank you for sharing that.
Sure.
Yeah, that's a question too I get from a lot of people that are starting this practice is kind of when should I do it? So the answer to that is whenever works for you. But I think in my experience, the best time to start is in the morning. So right when you get up or, right after you get up, once you're awake, get up and go to your meditation area, whether that's a chair in your office or, a cushion next to your bed, whatever that is. When you're sitting up, it can be much better because if you're like me, if I am laying down, I'm asleep. So, you want to be sitting up and finding a consistent time that you can do it. So, for example, one of my clients this week was having a hard time finding when to do his meditation. And what we ended up figuring out was he gets up and he goes and makes coffee. By the time he makes his coffee, everyone else in his house wakes up and he doesn't have the time to do it. So we decided he's going to meditate prior to the coffee, so that may mean getting up a few minutes earlier so that he has that sort of designated time. Like, this is when I do it. So Allie, by falling asleep for sure. I am the same as you. I don't typically meditate at night. My husband does because he was having some trouble sleeping because of the racing mind about this deal that, all of that stuff. And so he will meditate sitting on the side of our bed just for about 2 minutes, taking some breaths, but again, sitting up. And then he also meditates in the morning as well when, actually he gets up very early so he can meditate in the morning. But that's something those two things are something I really recommend is finding a set time, whether for you that's morning, lunch, dinner, right before bed, whatever it is. And then trying to stick to that for a certain period of time, at least to give you that experience of, okay, I really did try this. One of my other clients has to work out before he does it. For him, that's very important. He does his workout and then he sits down to meditate. For me, I'm so amped up after a workout. That doesn't work for me. I like doing it in the beginning of the day because I feel like I've set myself and centered myself for whatever comes at me during the day at the beginning. Now I'm calm, I'm clear, I'm connected, and whatever's going to happen today can happen. So I sort of start my day. I like to start my day off with that. Now, does it happen every single day? No. Sometimes the kid wakes up earlier than I expected. The car alarm goes off, whatever happens. I'm not super rigid about it, but my morning routine, if I had to set that, starts with the meditation and then it moves into exercise and then it's, all of the other things. So that can be very helpful. Does anyone have any other challenges that you deal with in meditation that I can help with? I know we only have a few minutes left now.
No, I love what you said about all the different scenarios because I think, we hear one scenario like, oh, Christiana does it right when she wakes up. I would be terrible at doing it right when I wake up because I'm like, I'd fall back asleep. I'd be all over the place. I have no focus. But I don't know if anybody does like a Pure Barre or bar 3, I do bar 3, and like right after every workout, there's a meditation, and that's the only way I figured out I could do it, because I got all my my energy, my chaos in here out during the workout, that then by the time they're like, all right, lay on the mat, I'm like, okay, I'm not spinning about that thing. And now I can just like breathe a little bit. So I like the idea of find what works for you. And it doesn't have to be a one size fits all solution.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think, setting a small goal initially is super important. So, while it would be great to meditate every day for 30 minutes, my strategy is, as long as you do something, it's better than nothing. So whether that be, I'm going to sit here and take 3 deep breaths and that's my practice for today, great. If it's 20 minutes, fantastic. Whatever works for you, but start small, because that can be another barrier to keeping the practice. If you start too high and it starts to feel like a burden, and that's where I say, start with 1 to 2 minutes if you're really new, and extend from there. If you don't want to have your phone involved, that's where I say, just set a number. I'm going to do 10 breaths, 25 breaths, whatever it is. That way you don't see your phone and have to set the timer and all of that. Or you can find some of those recordings too. So
awesome. Well, thank you again, Christiana. This was, as always, wonderful. We so appreciate you coming in, kind of helping us do our best by practicing this mindfulness. And so we look forward to seeing you again.
All right. Sounds good. Have a great day, everyone. Let me know if you have any questions. I'm happy to help. So
thank you so much. Bye, everyone. Have a great day.